Can you hear me okay?
Oh, I hear you fine. But it is. Now, see, okay, there you are. He's there? He's not. He's there? He's not. And there is nobody watching right now.
They will. There you go. See? It just had to reload.
There we go. All right. Well, that being said, this is a more serious show, so, we don't got the jokes. We just go straight to rolling that footage.
Bring it up, bring it, bring it, bring it, bring it up.
And
wow, that was fancy.
Welcome everyone. You haven't seen the intro before?
No, I never get there on time for it.
Well, you've only had one other episode.
I've seen it now, though.
Okay.
Hi, everybody.
Hi there, everybody. It is Monday. It is a random Monday in the middle of the month, so it must mean it is time for a figure reaction. That's right. This is where we talk about just stuff, No toy politics. Okay, so actually sometimes it is toy politics. Sometimes it's about the hobby itself. How can we enhance things as a hobby as opposed to, and that's new, I'm going to buy it, and I'm not going to buy it. So, thank you everyone who has joined us. Hopefully for those of you catching us on the replay. I am, of course, Dave, True Star Screamer, and with me is Matt.
Hi, I do exist. I know I haven't been on the main show for a while, but I do exist.
I personally had to draft him. I went up to Maryland, dragged him, put him in front of the camera, drove all the way back down here. That's why I work with a smoker, everybody, because that way I can just, do stuff.
You can entice people. You have to bring the meat.
I bring the meat, ladies and gentlemen. And today we are talking about alternative lines. And what I mean by that, it's stuff that doesn't have any kind of hook to nostalgia, doesn't have any kind of brand labeling to it. We're not thinking of something from 20 years ago. Oh God, the 90s were over 20 years ago.
Shh, no. Don't do that.
Or 30 years ago, basically stuff that you buy just because. Oh, let me get this thing up here real quick.
Yeah, I mean, as collectors, we tend to like to get physical at least our generation of collectors like to have physical representations of the stuff that we remember as kids. Things that bring and tuck at the nostalgia, things that bring back memories of Saturday morning cartoons. So all that's really easy to understand why you would want that in your life as something sitting on your shelf, something you can mess with. But like Dave said, this is more of a conversation about these things that we may collect that don't have any ties to anything. And what does that look like for people? What is that? Why do you personally get that? Why do you feel the need to pick up something to which you've never seen before? And what draws you to it?
Exactly. So we're not talking about, I know Hasbro dropped stuff today. We're not talking about that. We're talking about things that...
We will, but not right now.
We will.
Thursday.
Well, we'll talk about that on Thursday.
Thursday-ish.
We might allude to it today. In fact, you know what? No, actually, the Hasbro drop kind of will have a slight tie-in to it. So I guess I can kind of fedge it in. But like I said, I got the slides over here of just some of the bullet points that just kind of take the direction of the conversation, and then we'll be kind of free forming it. There's not really much of a format to this. And of course, if there's any kind of topics that you all want us to discuss, I do want to do a crafting and customizing with Junkion Customs and Crafts with Mr. Mark Rogers. And I want to do a few other things with YouTubers like TM reviews and such.
But I think you chose me for this particular talk because I have more of an eclectic taste, right?
Honestly, yes. And for those of you who are big on the Figure Action Show, when Matt's on here, he always pulls some of the coolest things out there. And I've got a few pictures from his collection, and I've highlighted some of the sites that he has turned me on to. So, this is going to be some neat stuff. If you're not, I think you guys are going to be seeing some figures you may not have heard of before, which is going to be really awesome because it's a crazy rabbit hole. So, and
Yeah, there's some
yes,
talk in the chat about Action Force. Action Force is kind of derivative of GI Joe and based on the UK Action Force as well. So
exactly.
I can see the argument for that both sides because the characters themselves are not specifically anchored to much in nostalgia. Not all of them. I know some of them are, but I can you see that being a GI Joe alternative, or
But when they
being
pull a
something that
box like this out, this is based off the original 1970s Action Force boxes.
yeah. So I could see the argument being both ways, especially with Action Force perhaps being because I can guarantee you there are people that are collecting Action Force right now that have no clue that it existed before. This isn't like you see an Optimus Prime, you buy it. This is a thing that did exist, but that doesn't necessarily. It's the same thing if third party. I think Ramen Toys is doing mask cars. I guarantee you there are collectors out there that think that looks cool and don't realize that it was from an 80s TV show. So that could definitely go both ways, I think. But I think more for the purposes of this conversation, it's stuff that absolutely didn't exist beforehand until somebody made a plastic thing of it.
Exactly. And that's the first thing I hear. Why? Our first bullet point. Why? There is no connection. And that is exactly the point. There is no preconcepts. There is no, it should be this. His face should be changed this way. There is no nerd nitpicking about it. There's a lot of figures, and I'll be like, for me, one of my favorites is from Memory Toys, their Mr. G figure, which is a articulated gorilla wearing a karate gi or prison uniform or a wrap. It's just the oddest thing I ever bought. And it was like the day I carried it, I'm like, I had no idea what I had, and that actually made it even more fun. There's a complete
Do you have it with
discovery
you?
to it.
Show it off.
I do.
Because I mean, we don't have to. We have video feed. We don't have to talk in concepts.
Oh, that is true. That is true. This is why Matt keeps me. So like this is Mr. G. It is exactly that. It is a karate gorilla. And if you've ever been on my channel, it's one of my first reviews I put up there because this figure got me back into doing reviews because it's just so unique.
Like he said, he didn't know what to expect from it. You don't know what you're getting in, and that is a plus and a minus for these lines too. Is that you don't. It's a very unknown quantity. It's an unknown company. It's an unknown figure. You don't know what you're getting into. So you can hope that these companies are basing a lot of their merchandise and their offerings on modern aesthetics, modern articulation, modern build quality. And you don't always get that. Sometimes you do. And I think Dave was pleasantly surprised with his gorilla figure. And he can say without any sort of with absolute certainty that before he got that figure, he didn't know that gorillas existed or that karate existed. And he was turned on to both of those things after purchasing the ninja or karate gorilla.
Exactly. And you've picked up a few things. What was
I have. We'll have to go off the pictures because I'm not at my house, so I don't have any of my stuff with me.
But one of the big things to point out is the less repetition and character burnout.
Right.
I think I know somebody. I mean, I used to have every version of Starscream ever made, and I just bought it blindly. There are people that we know that own every version of Optimus Prime ever made.
I mean, I'm close. I'm kind of guilty of that. I've got
exactly. Well, no,
I've got a
we are. We
bunch of
have something that's why we are collectors. We're not saying we're above it, but it's kind of like, but you get almost that collector burnout of, oh God, it's another one.
Well, like it's
Yeah.
the characters that they always want to keep on the shelf. Optimus Prime, Wolverine, and Batman, right? McFarlane Toys can't do a wave without a Batman. Like it's just a thing. You're never going to go out on the Target toy aisle and not see in the McFarlane section a Batman hanging, or 2 or 3 of them.
Or, I mean, Hasbro will put I'm looking right now at over 20 Spider-Man figures I have and over 25 Iron Man figures that I have.
You know what, though? Spider-Man is less permeating into the aisles if you're not talking about solely toys based on little kids, right? If you're
True.
talking about collector grade like Marvel Legends, arguably, they don't do as many Spider-Men on the shelf as they do most other main character, like a Wolverine. You are almost, I would think, you'd almost be more likely to find a Wolverine than a Spider-Man. And I don't know if that's because they don't produce it as much or because he's such a hot commodity right now that he gets grabbed up.
Well, they're about to release that Spider-Verse wave, so
Right.
they may have
When it
they may
rains,
have
it
been holding
pours.
off. Like, I mean, Wolverines, I'm looking at least 8 Wolverine figures I've got
Right.
too.
And you had the Age of Apocalypse Wolverine sitting on the shelf for ages. You had that recent yellow suit Wolverine with the red hot claws sat on the shelf for ages. I thought it'd be hard to get, but man, it was out there for a long time before it hit clearance.
But and of course, finally, like I said, the communities are really fun for these. There's not, because there's
Everybody agrees, everybody gets along.
Yeah. It's, well, you look at like a Star Wars forum, you
Right.
know. Oh, there's another one. Like, how many Vaders are you gonna do you have to own?
How many
So,
Vaders? Right. I mean, I think if you go on a Star Wars forum right now and tell them how much you love Rey in the sequel trilogy, you will get nothing but love and praise.
complete, utter love
Right.
and adoration.
Right.
So
you avoid all that, right?
Yeah.
That's the point. We're going to avoid all that with the following.
Exactly. So well, here's some. I've got some notable lines here. These are not all of them by far. This is just a sampling. I think Mythic Legions by far is probably still the most prolific of all of them. They came at the Four Horsemen. They kind of came out of nowhere, making their own IP, and it has exploded into its own culture. And it's still some of the neatest fantasy stuff. And eventually, those Cosmic Legion figures will come out, and that's why I didn't put it on the list.
They're next. Just a minor aside. They put out a shipping update, and Cosmic Legions are the next wave to ship out. So
cool.
If anybody's got them on pre-order like I do, we've waited 3 years now almost for them.
Yeah. When they came out, that's right when I lost my job. Yeah. No. I put on here the Rumble Mezco, their Rumble Society specifically. Go
ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say that I remember when they first started coming out, the Rumble Society. It's kind of like what is it? And then all of a sudden, it just really picked up from their Doc Nocturnal. Example. Oh boy, that's gonna be fun later. You know, like these 50s designs, their P-Hawk design.
And it's stuff that
there's a double joke going on here. I wish I could get into it right now, but
they have stories, right? But you don't have to know them, and it's whatever Mezco made up for them.
Exactly, but there's no preconception for it.
Right, and of course, with lines like this, you're going to have recolors to make up the cost of the molding and the cost of the figure. But now, and when it comes to Mythic Legions and Rumble Society specifically, though, there is kind of an interesting tangent with those lines, in that they have been doing this and have been around long enough where there is a little bit of repetition to their releases and a little bit of character burnout. Like Gomez comes to mind because I still get I got on Mezco late in the game with Rumble Society, and I get excited about new Gomez's coming out still. But there's a ton of people I know and I see on the forums and on the Facebook postings that are like that. They groan that like, it's another Gomez that they're releasing, and
Fair.
and
I mean, Gomez is kind of their Barbie.
right, he's their go-to guy. It's an easy figure to sort of fit into any any kind of aesthetic that you want. Like, he can easily be a secret agent in a suit, or he can be a ninja. So he's their go-to, right?
And then I have them up here. I mentioned the 52 Toys Beast Box stuff. I know this is one of Matt's favorites. Actually, I have this lined up here.
So Mariano asked in the chat, what is Rumble Society, Mezco, 52 Toys, Joy Toys, Savage Crucible? We'll actually talk about that and go into, and that's kind of the point here, is we want to talk about these figures and kind of open people's eyes to things that may be so laser focused that they don't realize that these other things do exist, that you don't have to stay.
So Matt, you definitely know more about the Beast Box of this. I know this is one of your favorites, one of your
Beast Box has got a simple concept. Beast Box says we want to make a cool transforming robot that every alt mode for these robots is a box. It's the same box. It's the same dimensions. They all turn into the same basic shape, which is just a box that fits into another box. But the way that they're able to explode their they have to reinvent this transformation every single time and fit a different animal into it, or whatever. That's usually animals or beasts or the like, but they do some other like robot kind of things too. But usually it's dinosaurs or birds or fish, penguins, monkeys.
Everything I'm showing here right now, this is from the 52 Toys website, and all these crazy robots, as Matt's saying, they turn into a box.
It's all the same. They all turn into the exact same dimensioned cube, but they all explode out very differently into a transformation. And they don't, most of them are not parts forming. Most of them are all in one transformation. Some are parts forming, but so if that, and that's so effortlessly random said in the chat that they are cool and affordable. And that's the thing too, is that these per box figure usually run about, I think 20 to 25 bucks, I believe, maybe a little bit more. And then some of the more complicated ones can be a little higher in price, but it's very easy, cheap pickup and a really good desk toy because it doesn't take up much room.
And another one, Joy Toy. That's one that I've got a little sampling of. They're coming now. They do work with some properties. They do work with Warhammer 40K. They actually have their original property, the Acid Rain one, which was a 3.75, and they do some excellent mechs. I hate her. They do some excellent mechs, and if you want to need some things that are not like Macross related, Gundam related, you really can get some neat things. I've got one of their robots right here.
You got it, Dave? Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, again, there is no cartoon involving this. There is no comic book for this. This is just its own independent line. Now, these are like their figures are 3.75. And that's the other thing with some of these. There's some definitely unique scales. I know if you watched a lot of the reviewers, specifically the Arch Core, the Frostlight figure, that was hitting every reviewer, from Jobby to Bobby, Skullface to T-Man 978, that hack. No, I'm kidding. but like that kind of came out of nowhere as an independent line with no media. So I remember
Right,
when I
and like
first
on
saw
that
art school.
figure, his left hand has three fingers and a thumb. There's nobody out there arguing. Well, the original animation model sometimes had 5 fingers, so that's ridiculous. They didn't give us a swappable hand. Like that's not a thing that happens in these lines. You take them as they're presented, and that's the version that you have. There's no arguing about what it should and shouldn't look like. Um, that's the nice thing about these too, especially for people that get caught up in that kind of thing. This is away from that. And like Noah for Random has said, that like a Rumble Society figure will come with a lot of options and accessories, but no one is going to be crying foul that it didn't come with that thing from that episode that everybody wanted it to, because that's not a thing. So it's just nice to be collecting something that's free of the weight of its nostalgia.
And then the other two I'm mentioning right here, I'm just going to touch them briefly, but Animal Warriors of the Kingdom, again, that's another line of figures that have completely, their fandom just kind of came out of nowhere, and the figures have kind of come across a lot of reviewers. Kato, I know he runs his own podcast strictly devoted to that line. And I mentioned the Savage Crucible because that's another independent line that just finished up their Kickstarter. And we actually talked a little bit about those on the first episode. Again, you hold these things and they just have their own feel to them. Now, right here, these are just some pictures of I mentioned some fun lines here. Specifically, these are memory toys, and these are ones that we can get on 5K toys. Like this is a bear of theirs that's coming out, an ogre, and the right next to it is the Mr. G figures I was telling you about.
And Dave glossed over it, but just to reiterate, the web. So Memory Toys is the company, and you're going to get a lot of like nonsense company names with some of these figures. But 5K Toys is the website that deals in these off-brand companies. So that's the number 5 letter K toys.com. We'll show the website off here in a little bit, but that's where we source a lot of these from. Yeah,
I was counting on you to talk while I switched over to it.
Gotcha. I did my job well.
This site is dangerous. Again, it is 5ktoys.com, and you will find a little bit of everything that's random here. A lot of 1/12 unique 1/12 scale figures. Like these are just Japanese warriors. And these are full soft goods here you're seeing here. And these are not crazy prices either.
Right. That's another topic I want to get into with this stuff too, is the price factor. But let's continue here.
Yeah. Like this just came out today when I was researching this site. Matt, did you see this?
Embiggen, because I can't see what it is. Fog Toys, I never heard of them. But I've never heard of most of these guys. So
there is no
interesting
backstory to this, but this is a guy on some kind of cyber bike. He's got a cybernetic arm, a cigarette, and I have no clue. And I am very close to hitting that put in cart.
What's the full price on this? Do you know? Well, I mean,
full price is $130.
Okay, that's again, it's got a full vehicle with it, so that's not bad.
Yeah. I mean,
and I guess we should also preface that if some of these things are based on some anime or something that we're not aware of, forgive us, we're human. But I don't think I've ever seen this anywhere before. But yes, some of these things might be third-party renditions of some obscure character. But for my intent and purposes, this is not based on any nostalgia that links me back. So this would just be a cool figure to pick up.
Exactly. Like you could, I haven't gone through all these pictures yet. I don't know if the stand comes with it, but I don't think it does.
So that you could strip the bike down.
Yep. Strip it to its parts.
And so anybody that hasn't worked or hasn't used this site before, you go on and the pre-order and the actual figure are two different postings. So you will process your order for the pre-order first, which is a down payment, and then when the figure comes in stock, you will reorder it for the remainder. And 5K will check to make sure that you have both the pre-order and the regular figure as paid for, and they'll ship it to you. It sounds complicated because I explained it poorly, but it's pretty easy.
But like, I know Matt's been talking about this figure a lot.
Yeah, I have this on pre-order. It's soft goods. It's got armor. It's got a alternate hands. It's got a ton of accessories to it. It's got a really cool hat because why not? It's got a little that basket thing with it. I don't know. Like I don't need to know. It's all I know is that actually I think what first drew me
That's
into
a
this is
sake
like
bottle, just so you know.
right. That's exactly what I wasn't going to say because I had no idea. But like the sword reminded me of something from like Final Fantasy or Elden Ring. So that was one of the things that drew me in. So it's like that's a really cool looking sword.
But things like what's neat about this is you can just have this for the sake of having it. You're not
Right.
saying, "Oh, I need this guy. Oh, he's the one missing." Like, okay, this is something I had to beat out of myself. But like, I hate the character Trailbreaker and Hoist, but I always felt like I was compelled to buy them if I'm making a G1 collection.
Right.
This is something I can pick and choose because I don't care.
Right. And to answer Mike's question, it is not an overseas vendor. They only ship out once their US stock comes in, and it usually takes less than a week to get your stuff. So you will get a notification that their USA stock is in, and please order the second half of your payment.
Yeah.
So how much is that the figure you were just showing off?
Oh,
Just
that
to
one.
sort of go over prices while
The
we
Ashura Red, it's the Ashura was total of $70. Your initial
right.
deposit was $20, and then you put $50 up.
Right. So you're paying 20 now and then an additional 50 plus shipping when it comes in, which is again over the course of a few months from pre-order to item in stock is not bad. They offer both 1/12 scale and 1/6 scale. I think most of for the purposes of our discussion here will be mostly 1/12 based.
Mm-hmm. And then we've got they've got these dinosaurs coming out. I know Articulated Ninja and The Amazing just both got those. And this is another neat one. So these here, I know Matt. This is actually Matt's shown right here from Mosho Toys, and you might have seen this transforming battleship going around from Toy Easy. The Mosho Toy stuff. Also, Jobby the Hung, I know he presented one of those. He presented the same two of these figures out there.
He sold me on this one. That's why I bought it.
And I've actually got their site pulled up. As soon as oh right, I hope if I stop sharing that screen there, that's why it's not letting me do it. And we're not trying to say, "Ooh, this is new." This is just a new direction for collecting to go. If you're feeling that collector's burnout in a way, these are just cool things for the sake of having cool things, if that makes sense. Like, these are not Gundams. This is not Char Ansibal's mech. This is actually a mecha based off a Japanese warrior.
And you know what, too? That's a good point. Is that if your collecting is based off of nostalgia, and you have to have that connection, and you have to know the story of that figure that you're buying, then most of this is not for you, and that you can happily let somebody else enjoy, and you can buy your Primes and your Wolverines and whatever and be totally happy with that. But if you are someone that just likes a good figure put together, likes articulation, likes accessories, likes to strike cool poses, and you don't have to know the character's entire family history that has been on running in a comic book since the 1960s, then this is much more entry friendly, much more It's much less gated than some of these larger collecting
That's
lines,
a,
you know?
that's right there is a great point. There is no gatekeeping to this.
Right. You're not going to have someone that says, "Well, you don't understand the lore, so how could you get any enjoyment out of this?" Like I mean, that's bullshit anyway, right? That's no one should ever tell another collector that, but they do all the time.
You know, you put the wrong Power Ranger in the wrong team. You put the wrong.
Right. Right.
You've got. You grab the clone trooper figure to fight off some. I don't know. Ray fighting a clone trooper just because
Right.
that wouldn't
Right.
have happened. Well, that's not the point. Like,
Right. I mean,
this
end
is
of
a
the day,
damn. Like what I
if you
got here.
want
This
to,
is a damn cool robot. That's what it
it
is.
is.
It's a damn cool robot.
And really, at the end of the day, if you want to put a Powerpuff Girls logo on your Soundwave, then you can do it because it's your figure. And someone is going to tell you you're wrong, but you can do it because you bought the damn thing, right? So, and that here, this is not any of that. There's no one trying to tell you what you can do with these, right?
Ooh, that's a good question right there. And well, it's kind of funny. Like I mentioned before, like with the Hasbro drop, I've already just because the fact they're completely re-releasing the original team, I've officially burnt out on Power Rangers Lightning. It
Right.
actually,
And that's the thing too. Like they released their initial figures in the Lightning collection, right? And everybody jumped on them because they were Power Ranger figures. And then, lo and behold, a year later, the deluxe versions, and then a year after that, the super premium deluxe versions. All the while, you're buying the same figure over and over again. Which, if that's what you want, awesome,
cool.
right? But for this guy, like Date Masamune, which is a figure I bought, I have in my collection. If they release a version 2 with slightly better articulation and better tampographics, I don't give a shit. Like, I'm happy with this.
There is no correct colors. There is no. I mean, how many times have we bought a Transformer, and then all of a sudden, then the Studio Series Plus for a Masterpiece version? That's a great thing. Takara Masterpiece. They would always do like one version. They did like then the Plus version of it. Oh, that's the colors he should have had.
Right. Or the tune accurate or the toy accurate or, well,
So,
and again, we're not disparaging people that like that. This is just an alternate idea for people that don't like to get caught up in all of the riffraff and rigmarole with having to collect mainline stuff.
I mean, I've been collecting for over 20 years. Okay. I mean, I'm 44 years old and I've been collecting since I was 22. I have absolutely hit every phase of the gotta catch 'em all phase. I hit I'm trying to pull down my collection. Then I just want one of one character collection. I've gone through many phases of it. I have collected, I have sold off collections, I have recollected. And it's just what's nice about something like this is there is no tethering. There is no compulsion. Ooh, I like it. No, I don't. Move on. That's the great one.
Right. And like this guy, if you want him in a display battling your Ava Unit 2, you can because they look similar enough and it fits. It looks good. Was his name Azura from the Azure dude from the 5K website with the hat? If you want him in a cantina scene in the background of your Star Wars display, rock and roll, man. Like, it fits.
Have him fight Akuma, Street Fighter display. This is looking really cool, by the way. I really wish I hadn't gone to the site.
Yeah, this is the new one they just released, or they're about to. I can't remember. They had the one. I didn't notice if you showed it. But they have a red one that came out before it, then the blue one, and now this is their next one.
This is an interesting one. I'm tired of the replacement game for Transformers. That's it. This is exactly what this is preventing. You'll see this figure, you almost never will see it again.
So my only pushback to that about the replacement game, like Transformers specifically, is that you get to control that, right? I mean, I own a bunch of Optimus Primes because I'm always looking for the more perfect Prime. And I'm okay paying another amount for another one that I feel is closer to what my mind's eye is for what it could be. But if you have an MP10 and you love your MP10 and you don't want anything else, man, that there's no reason to play that game. The only thing, like, the only caveat to that I would say is, like, in my experience, MP Hound was a gotcha, right? Because I bought the original
Oh
version that
God.
had crappy quality and broke apart, and then they released a better quality version. That's when it pisses me off because that shouldn't have been. But if you want to play the replacement, that's not quite the same thing as the replacement game, though. But
Well, like the
you know,
replacement game, like for right now, they've changed scales. You know,
right, right.
Chug has become has gone through a new scale.
Right. And
Um,
and that too, that sort of forces you too, because if you bought the original scale, right, the original MP scale, and you want to keep collecting characters, then yes, that forces you then to have to go circle back and repurchase characters because they don't fit anymore.
but stuff like this, there is no. I mean, I could have that Ashura figure and have him next to a 3.75 figure and just say that he's a giant demon. You know, that's the cool stuff.
Right. Right.
So I was talking about where we mentioned, where you can get things like this. If you really want to kind of explore this, 5ktoys.com. That's one of the most dangerous sites. Show Z, they carry not only the
Dangerous, he means in tempting, not like
yes, very
hacker
tempting,
friendly.
very tempting. Show Z, same scenario. They've got a lot, not only of the fun third-party stuff, but they carry a lot of these independent robot figures. Bombus B is another neat site I was kind of going through. Same with Gundamit.
Bombus B is newer, isn't it? I've heard
Yeah,
people talk about it lately, but I like it's just a recent thing. I've never heard anybody mention it
and
like last year.
apparently they seem to be tied with Shozi. They say they share their rewards program.
Okay, well, Show Z and Gundamit are the same thing, or the exact same people. That I know for a fact because if you have a Show Z account, you also have a Gundamit account. You use the same login.
Oh, that I did not know.
Yeah.
Finally, Ally Express, but that is definitely a buyer beware site because
right. With AliExpress, you're better off getting a link from somebody that's already made the purchase and has verified that it's good. But,
yes,
you do you, boo.
And then Kickstarter. There is some neat independent things of Loose Collector, that Mr. Hyde figure that just came out.
Right.
Have you seen the reviews of that?
Right. I haven't seen reviews, but I've seen the figure.
Yeah, Just Jay Hernandez did that. But I mean, there's just some neat sources. One of the guys from the Four Horsemen, he's doing that biblical line, which
Oh, right.
I'll admit I sort of rolled my eyes at just because of my own personal thoughts on these things. But then he went like old school biblical, like not angels of the chorus is falling, but more like angels got 4 sets of wings coming through, and he looks like a angel of death coming through.
Right.
And believe it or not, Big Bad Toy Store is now starting to carry some things like this.
Yeah, a lot of the figures we've talked about are also on BBTS. If you don't like to try different sites, you can find some of the same things on there. Probably a little higher priced here and there, but but that's the game. Most all you guys know by now the game.
I'm gonna put 5K Toys back up here. We're just gonna do a little bit of
dive into it.
It just, again, we're not trying to sell anybody anything. I'm not trying to
This is just making you aware that these things do exist. Like when you get 5K back up, like they are very good at offering. So they have a ton of Dragon Ball third-party figures, right? So that doesn't obviously fit into this conversation, but they also offer very generic troopers and soldiers and ninjas and generic
the V Toys thing.
Right. So there's I don't know, you may not be able to find it right away, but there is like a generic skeleton special, like there you is that it? No, that's a ninja. Anyway, but like you see over here on the right, like those are just generic. These are all
these soldiers right here.
Generic soldiers that can fit in literally anywhere you want them to, and they're reasonably cheap. Air quotes, reasonably. Depending on what your sensibilities are and your budget. But they also pack a punch with accessories. They come with a ton of stuff. It's cloth goods. It's a lot of it's rubber. it's just it's a good option to have. And this is also a good kind of time to tie in with the prices on these too. Is that I think for me personally, the price has to be in the right place for something like this. I'm not if like say if Beast boxes were $50 a pop for a base one like that's easy for me to just say no thanks, like shrug that off. If these base prices for some of these like the Azure Knight or the were like baseline like they do a Hasbro and they're like oh $120 base, but they're not. They're 65, they're $70, and some of their more basic figures are $50. Like that's easy to just kind of shrug off and do.
And then you're paying them in installments already as well.
Right. Like look at this guy. Was that 61.99? And
Yep.
just there's your accessories. Like you're not inundated with a ton of stuff that you're never going to use. But he has arguably for me what would be the right amount of accessories to get a handful of these guys and make it interesting.
And then they got all kinds, like you have your accessories. So if you have a TV League figure, and it's just a great way to kind of expand your collection. If you just want to have something like okay, this I've been I don't want to say obsessed over, but I keep going
Right.
back to this on this site.
I have him on pre-order because
Okay.
it's a robot cop with a robot dog. I don't know why. I don't care. It looks cool, and it was really reasonably priced for 2 figures.
I mean, does it come with all this stuff?
There's two figures in there. There's the assassin robot, and then there's the cop robot. So make sure you're looking at that the pictures are split
Ah, gotcha.
because you can toggle between which version you. There you go. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So I don't have that. That one is just a robot that comes with a bunch of like bazookas and crap, and the other one is like a beat cop with a police dog, robotic police dog. Because why not? Fully articulated. It's not a statue. It's fully
It's better than a
articulated.
NECA figure.
Yeah. All that comes with it. And I think it's, what was it? Is that 72, 70
Yeah.
something, I think?
I mean, I've got on, like, I personally got on, I mean, this is where I got my spring figure from Fury Toys. So this is the
Right,
not,
the not Ninja Turtle.
the not Ninja Turtles. Full price is $47, and then whatever shipping is going to be.
Painted from head to toe, shading on it, cloth goods.
And it's not a Ninja Turtle; it's a Samurai Force.
It's a Samurai Force, right? But there is an extra exclusive custom set that you get with it that just happens to have a head sculpt of a nostalgic thing that you remember from your childhood.
This is just a great. These are just great places for people just to let their imagination.
Right.
You're seeing the fruits of some people's imagination, actually.
Right. Like, did you know you needed an overweight dinosaur lizard man that drinks too heavily? Because here it is. Like, this is a thing that's happened.
This is a thing. I don't know if this is a hero. I don't know if it's a villain. I don't know if I care.
You know, did he have a hard life? Did he lose his family to some? He's got a duster coat. Is he a cowboy? I don't know. You do, though. If you buy the figure, you know what it is because you make that shit up.
So this is the kind of the fun stuff about all this. This is another line I've been looking at. Like these prison, like these just they call it sitting thug.
Right, and again, something to throw in with these could be random dudes in the background of a Street Fighter diorama, right? Like
these are the two guys beating each other up at the intro of Street Fighter.
there you go.
And this has just been a fun thing for collecting in general. Like again, I do for your displays. If you want to do, if you're big into photography, this is where you can get some just excellent flavor to it all. Effortlessly Random D Amazing has been talking about these a lot. He's pulled a lot of things from 5K Toys, and Articulated Ninja also has been doing this as well. He definitely pulls some. He's turned me on to a lot of figure lines, like some of the female gladiator figures, for example.
Yeah, I've got one of those.
So it's just, and that's, I guess, the whole purpose of tonight. This is not like a crazy sales pitch. This is not a what's right or wrong with collecting. It's in some ways the opposite. It's more ways to be collecting. It's a more ways to expand your collection to just fun.
Right. If you want to boil off some of the heavy-handedness that comes with collecting and the judgment, which oddly is the thing for collectors,
It is.
because we all have our own opinions, and mine is right and yours is not. But when it comes to this stuff, it's just like Dave says, it's kind of a return to fun and exploration, because how many people have got in there, they're to keep going back to it, how many people got into their 10th Optimus Prime figure and they pulled out 1 through 9 and they're like, well, this one doesn't have the right hue of red, this one doesn't have thigh rotation, this one doesn't have ab crunch. It can be sort of like, or someone goes on, like you post a picture on your Instagram of your newest thing, and you have people that are happy and they're praising you, but then you get people that'll be like, the one from this company was better, or like, yeah, that was stupid for you to spend that money on that. Okay.
I guess the reason why we do with the Transformers one so much is there's so many options for it.
Right. Options are good, but they're also
there's tribalism to
heavy. There is.
New Age versus what's the other one?
Magic Square.
Yeah, New Age versus Magic Square. I mean, they had
right.
two
And I
Devastators.
happily have Legends collections, a Legends collection that consists of all of them. I have Iron Factory, I've got New Age, I've got Magic Square. They do not all scale like to the T properly. I don't care.
Yeah. You got Fans Toys versus the World. Hake was talking about that.
Right. I have a Rick Defend that I bought off T-Man. I'm not getting the Fans Toys Power Glide because I don't have a need to replace it.
But you're not a true fan, man. You don't have that Power Glide.
I know, and I'm going to go in shame and 1,000 Hail Marys after this to pay penance.
Just because I know where you're currently staying right now, if you do a even 3 Hail Marys, I find that to be the funniest thing on earth. But that's a whole. But I digress. And I'm leaving up here just for a little bit. So if anyone wants to again check these stores out, 5K Toys, Show Z, and that's just a great example of just seeing some of these things.
Yeah. I mean, I would challenge a lot of you watching and people that may or may not watch on the YouTube repeats, but the reruns. I almost said reruns. I'm old. Go to these sites and just poke around. You don't have to buy a thing. Just look and see, like like Dave said, it's a lot of artistic outlet for people that can create a thing and sell it. And it doesn't have to be based on anything. Go to these pages, poke around, see what's out there, maybe throw some money down on something if you think it's interesting, but try to break away at least a little bit from the pool of, if I don't recognize it from my childhood, then I don't want it. Like, there's so much more out there that you could be getting enjoyment out of.
And that's how, like 3-0, that's how they started when they were 3A toys, when they're doing all that weird pop bot stuff. That's exactly what, if you ever look up what that old the old 3A pop bot figures, the Tomorrow Kings, that is, in some ways, that is the origin of some of the things that we enjoy today that have kind of become mainstream. So it's kind of neat. You might be seeing some figure lines like Memory Toys. They've started off with a gorilla, and now they've got 3 bears, ogres. I got a feeling we'll be seeing more stuff from them. Like, it's almost like being on the line of an indie band right before they break big.
Right. So. And I can remember even personally, like years ago, seeing a Gomez figure being advertised by Mezco on Instagram. And I remember very distinctly looking at that. And I remember thinking to myself, who the fuck wants a 1/12 scale posable roach? I don't understand that. Like,
Wasn't
what
that
is
the
this
first? Was
from?
it the one that came with the hoverboard? Was the first one?
But then, fast forward years later, and I have 3 of them. No, 4 of them. I have 4 of them because I'm an idiot. But they're cool, and I don't need to know why they're cool. They just are cool for me.
And that's yeah. And I think we'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, because I'll start repeating myself.
Exactly. We're about to get repetitive.
Yeah, the
Um,
information is out there. Go look and see if there's something new that you've never thought about before. And like these sites, especially 5K, it's not just 1/12. It's accessories for existing action figures. It's 1/6 scale, and they have some companies that dive into third-party versions of popular characters. If you just have to have that nostalgia, they have Resident Evil figures on there. They have Arthur Morgan from Red Dead. You know, they have Final Fantasy characters on there. Like, go dig in and just kind of look around, see what you like.
Awesome. Well, Matt, thank you very much for taking your time on joining me tonight with this.
Yep.
I appreciate
for
your
having me.
insight and also keeping me on some of my own ramblings. As always, catch us on Figure Action on Thursdays at 9 p.m. Eastern times. You can always catch myself on my own channel at True Star Screamer here on YouTube. Matt just pops up when he feels like it. We do miss you though, Matt. I just want to say we do miss you on Thursdays.
Yeah, I'll be back on a little more regular eventually. I've just got some stuff. So
you got stuff. We know. I'm just letting you know that that we miss you.
I appreciate it.
And for you guys who joined us tonight, thank you very much. We appreciate it. Go ahead, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Feel free to check out these sites. And until next time, this is the Figure Reaction Show. We'll have another one coming up soon, and we'll talk to you then. Peace.
Thanks, guys. You the best.
No, you the best.